Hello, everyone. I'm Som Adedayor, and welcome to another episode of The Poems I Love. The first poem I'll be reading is Air by Victoria Adukwei, Bulley. Friend, I saw you sitting at the window of yourself, high up in the loft, watching it all go on without you. I was eyes, and you were almost shadow. I waved like a child on a passing boat, unsure of whether or not this counts. I want us to remember the unreadable air, how it waits to be recast by the torch of our lungs, our breath alone, a most humble poem. In, out, the couplet we write without thinking. Don't go. We must stay alive to our place in the family of green and breathing things that use even our signs to make sweetness from light. What grace. Allow what is simple to be simple. Accept it as truth, quiet as it's kept. We help the trees to breathe too. This is a favorite because it makes use of language that is very attentive to reality, to life, and in its attentiveness, it renews reality. I'll give just an example, and then I'll hope that what I'm saying is clear. Our breath alone, a most humble poem. In, out, the couplet we write without thinking. This is the act of breathing renewed. This is out of breathing renewed. And I like the fact that this poem is also an optimistic poem, and it's also eco-friendly. But most importantly, I like the attentiveness of the language and the way it renews reality, like, the example I just made. So the second poem is titled An African Elegy by Ben Okri. We are the miracles that God made to taste the bitter fruit of time. We are precious, and one day our suffering will turn into the wonders of the earth. There are things that burn me now, which turn golden when I am happy. Do you see the mystery of our pain? That we bear poverty and are able to sing and dream sweet things, and that we never curse the air when it is warm, or the fruit when it tastes so good, or the light that bounces gently on the waters. We bless things even in our pain. We bless them in silence. That is why our music is so sweet. It makes the air remember. There are secret miracles at work that only time will bring forth. I too have heard the dead singing, and they tell me that this life is good. They tell me to live it gently, with fire and always with hope. There is wonder here, and there is surprise in everything the unseen moves. The ocean is full of songs. The sky is not an enemy. Destiny is our friend. This is another poem that is also very optimistic. And besides that, I'm not really a fan of optimism. I think so. I'm not really attracted to the poem because of its hope and optimism. I'm very much attracted to the poem because this is a poem. This is a kind of poem you read with your fingers tracing the lines of the poems, and you discover there is a warmth in your hand. The language is that palpable. Is that it's a living thing. You read these poems and then you catch the warmth, you catch the heart of the poet. So it's a language that it's a poem that is also very attentive to language, like the previous one I read. Okay, the third poem I'll be reading is Black Sheep by Mayowa Oyewale. One for the master, in Georgia, who stuffed his chair with slave hair. It nearly felt like wool, comfy and convenient. This pipe-smoking pig, whom I cannot but imagine, his hardened legs lounging on the beaten back of a vase, anything that can break. 2. And one for the dame down Louisiana, who sipped tea from a cup so white her servant wore gloves. Whenever they set the tray, Desdemona she's called. And one faithful afternoon, she fucked the strongest Negro slave against his will, hands on his throat, threatening to call rape. 1. And for Lauda, captured at 11 from his homeland without his mama, but with memory. I imagine him on board, listening to the deep of the ship's bow, ferrying and ferrying and ferrying into a land that would never belong to him. Okay, so this poem, as you probably can see, deconstructs a popular nursery rhyme, Baba Black Sheep. It's a very deep poem. It's a very deep poem. It's contains a lot of history, a lot of identity politics is going on. But I like the poem, especially because in a language that is fresh, ferociously new, it deconstructs a popular nursery rhyme, taking its form to express its own language. Right. The next poem I'll be reading is titled Home by Warsan Shire. Home. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Your neighbors running faster than you, breath bloody in their throats. The boy you went to school with, who kissed you dizzy, behind the old tin factory, is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you. Fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burns threats into your neck. And even then, you carry the anthem under your breath, only tearing up your passport in an airport toilet, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you won't be going back. You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under trains, beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck, feeding on newspaper, unless the miles traveled means something more than journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching, or prison, because prison is safer than a city of fire. And one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one could take it. No one could stomach it. No one's skin would be tough enough for the go-home blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers, sucking our country dry, niggers with their hands out. They smell strange, savage, messed up their country, and now they want to mess ours up. How do the words "the dirty" roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off, or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs, or the insults are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child's body in pieces. I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of the gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore. unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through the oceans, drown, save, be hunger, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave. Run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. So home is a self-evidently powerful poem. It captures the you know the struggles of the immigrants who are forced to leave their land, during wars and riots and chaos. I don't think I need to say anything. It's a modern classic, so it's a poem that will be here for all time. So the next poem I'll be reading is Olokun by J.P. Clark. And then I'm also going to be reading Idoto, Mother Idoto by Christopher Okigbo. I'll read them the two at a stretch and then I'll say why I love the two poems. I love to pass my fingers as tide through widths of the sea and wind the tall fern fronds through the strands of your hair, dark as night that screens the naked moon. I am jealous and passionate like Jehovah, God of the Jews, and I would that you realize no greater love at woman from man than the one I have for you. But what wakeful eyes of man, made of the mud of this earth, can stare at the torch of sleep, the sable vehicle of dream, which indeed is the look of your eyes. So drunken, like ancient wars, we crumble in heaps at your feet. And as the good maid of the sea, full of rich bounties for men, you lift us all beggars to your breast. Idoto by Christopher Okigbo, Mother Idoto. Before you, Mother Idoto, naked I stand, before your weary presence, a prodigal, leaning on an oil bin, lost in your legend. Under your power, wait I, on barefoot, watchman for the watchword at heaven's gate. Out of the depth my cry, give ear and hearken. So apparently these two poems are evocative. They are invoking, they are addressing deities. The first poem, Olokun, is of course addressed to Olokun, and the other one is addressed to, of course, Idoto. I love these two poems because, for me, they represent a sort of secular prayer. They carry the efficacy of, say, Catholic prayers. For example, the Memorare or the Hail Holy Queen. They are poems, they are prayers. They are no longer poems. They are prayers, very efficient, very awe-inspiring, and full of admiration. So they strike me as some sort of secular prayers. So I love them for that. The next poem I'm going to be reading, which is going to be the last, is titled The Mesh by Kwesi, Brew. The Mesh. We have come to the crossroads, and I must either leave or come with you. I lingered over the choice, but in the darkness of my doubts, you lifted the lamp of love, and I saw in your face the road that I should take. This is also another classic love poem. This poem appeals to me because when I was in secondary school, and when you're in the art class in the secondary school, you got to prepare for jams, and WAEC and all those sort of exams, whereby you read loads of poems and then you solve a lot of past questions on poems and all that. So the poems that I came by most times, if not all of the times, were poems about colonialism or maybe life during the pre-colonial era. They were struggle poems, in quote, so to speak. They were poems actively fighting something, a system, the government, the colonial power. But this poem was like a relief, like a rescue from the monotony of poems like that. So it was like, this is a love poem. I am there. And since then, I've been, attracted to this poem. It has remained fascinating still. And I've come to the end of this episode of The Poems I Love. Once again, I am Som Adedayor, and goodbye.